All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about the Yankees front office meeting with the media, talking about how the season went for them, and what moves could be made in the offseason to improve the team. Of course, obviously, the bigger thing with this is Brian Cashman and a lot of his comments. I have some of the quotes, here, and for me, it was interesting because from listening to what everybody else has been saying, it just seems like he just was going after Yankee Twitter and defending himself because he talked about how he's proud of the people that he has, and we got good baseball people, and cursed a lot. He cursed a lot when talking to the media. And it was like the complete opposite with Hal Steinbrenner, because Hal Steinbrenner said we failed, the fans. I mean, both of them said the fans deserve better, but Hal Steinbrenner, of course, wasn't going to curse or anything like that. But I don't think anybody really expected Cashman to do what he did either. But Hal Steinbrenner, they both said how disappointing the season was, and the fans deserve better and things like that. But I mean, the way Cashman came off, he was defending everything and saying how the stuff about being analytically driven is BS. He said, cursed a lot, and he talked about how the Yankees have the smallest analytics department in the American League East. But there was a chart that came out that kind of disputes that, and also how they got the biggest scouting department. And he had a little bit of a back and forth with Joel Sherman on player development, because Oswald Peraza, sorry, not Jose Peraza. Oswald Peraza was the guy they were talking about, and how if Peraza hit, you would find a place to play him. And then Cashman kept saying, well, where would we play him? And it just kept going back and forth. Well, if he hits, you're going to play him. Well, where are we going to play him? It just kept going back and forth. Jose Peraza. Hey, I mean, I think the Yankees did have him at one point, too. Well, the Mets had him, but the Yankees had him too. But Cashman, like I said, I'm proud of our people. I'm proud of our process. That's the one thing that he says a lot. The process. I'm proud of the process. Well, here's the thing. I don't know. I feel like he in a way he kind of contradicts himself, because he also said it's all about wins and losses, but then he's like, well, the process is good. Well, I mean, is the process good? Because the Yankees have not won a championship now in 15 years going on. That's a long time. And they're coming off of their worst season since, I think, 1992. Now, again, they finished 2 games over, but a lot of things didn't go right for them at all. And I don't really know what they're going to do. I really don't. And, a lot of Yankee fans, I mean, I'm concerned that they're probably not going to do anything major. I mean, all they've done so far is, hire a batting coach. Because Sean Casey wasn't coming back. So they brought in another batting coach who worked with Aaron Judge. So I don't really know what the major changes are going to be. I mean, they got to improve the roster. And the other thing, too, is, we talk about analytics. Now, listen, I don't think analytics is... Analytics, I think, when you're using that more so, that's, the end-all, be-all. If that's what you're relying on, that's a problem. But I think the thing is, it's roster construction with the Yankees. I mean, you got all right-handed hitters. It's because, analytics could be or some of the reasons why you've made some of the decisions that you've made by some of the players you acquired. That I think is where there's an issue when it becomes heavily relying on analytics in that respect. When it comes to roster construction and how you go through the game, making in-game decisions, that's I think where the issue is. But it's roster construction. and Cashman defended a lot of the trade. Was talking about how Sonny Gray, Joey Gallo, like he brought them up and how they've been productive players elsewhere, but they weren't productive here. And he said, well, the Dodgers picked him up, and he was with the Twins that won a playoff series. Joey Gallo did not play in any of those games. He was a non-factor in those playoff series. Sonny Gray, and this is the other thing, Sonny Gray came out and said that it didn't work out in New York because they were making him throw a pitch that he wasn't good at using, right? It was like the slider, I think. Like he couldn't use that. So like, I don't really know. It's bad. I mean, they've made a lot of bad moves. They have. And you know what? The thing I will say though is that both him and Steinbrenner, they both address the media. They do. They both took accountability, and I appreciate that. That's one thing that I'll still appreciate with Brian Cashman is that he gets up in front of the media and and says like, yeah, it's my it falls on me. But the way he like conducted himself, it was odd. I guess because he's definitely like fed up with what's been said about his process, but the process hasn't been good in recent years. It just hasn't. So now in terms of what the Yankees are going to do, I mean, Cashman said we need 2 left-handed outfielders, which, yeah, and Kevin Kiermaier, I think is probably the most likely player they end up with. That's really what's going to end up happening. Is they're going to get Kevin Kiermaier, and Dominguez will eventually come back. I mean, you hope they get Bellinger, but I don't know. I did see something that says it's going to be tougher for the Mets to land Yamamoto, the Japanese pitcher, as opposed to the Yankees. So, I mean, I guess that's good to help your rotation. But I don't know. It's the whole thing is interesting. And the audit, it's going to be like a year-long audit. So, we're going to have to wait till the end of the season to, figure out what their findings are. That whole thing really didn't make any sense. I don't know. It's just, and when we go over the power rankings in the next part of the show, Yankees are not in the top 10. They're not in the top 10. Now, again, it's someone's opinion, but I don't have a problem with it. But I just feel like, Brian Cashman just seems like he's going to have a lifetime job with the Yankees. Like, he's not going anywhere. And look, he was a successful manager or general manager at one point, and he was part of those winning teams, even though, like, now because people just don't like him and how the team has been, they just don't give him any credit. The last couple of years, like, my trust in Brian Cashman has gone down. It's faded away. Because the trade deadline in 2022 was a mess. How the team just has no left-handed hitters. The level of trust is just not there anymore. And, I think he's a guy that just is like overstayed his welcome. So, I mean, he's going to be the general manager moving forward. I mean, keeping Aaron Boone. So, I mean, I don't really know what else to say. I mean, they're kind of running it back with the same group, in terms of the manager and the front office. But, they got to make changes with the roster. And, Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole, like, want to be a part of those conversations. And I think, like, when it comes to your star players, like, you want them to be part of those conversations because that's who you're building your team around. I mean, Brian Cashman, if it wasn't for Hal Steinbrenner picking up the phone and talking to Aaron Judge is not going to be a Yankee. He's not a Yankee right now. He's not. Brian Cashman would have let him go. And, you talk about a lot of the players back in the core four days, like, they're not fond of Brian Cashman. Brian Cashman, talking with Derek Jeter about with his contract situation and how he told him like what shortstops he would take over Jeter. Jorge Posada supposedly doesn't like him either. I mean, he's Brian Cashman is a very controversial figure with the Yankees, and it's just how he conducted himself the other day. It didn't sit well with a lot of people. And, like, I don't know. It's an interesting situation. And we'll see what the Yankees do in the offseason, if they really do anything. I mean, I kind of expect more of the same. Like, I expect like a Kevin Kiermaier move. That's really it. Maybe you get another pitcher. I don't know. I mean, they're talking about bringing back Frankie Montas. I kind of see more of the same in 2024. But again, it's just the beginning of the offseason, so like things can change, and like maybe they go out and they get Bellinger, and you sign Yamamoto. I don't know. I don't really know. But you got an older team. You got to fix it, because guys aren't going to get better as they get older. Like, they're going to get worse, and you're already seeing that with Stanton. I mean, LeMahieu was struggling, but was able to figure it out, kind of. Rizzo got hurt, and then, he looked like the worst hitter in baseball. But you hope it's because of the concussion. You hope he can bounce back from that. I hope he does, because I love Anthony Rizzo. But, yeah, these are it's going to be an interesting offseason for the Yankees. But right now, you look at them, and they're not really a World Series contender, as people usually look at them as. But we'll talk about it with the power rankings. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it with this topic. Let me know what you guys think about what Cashman had to say, what Hal Steinbrenner had to say, and we'll see if they if they address the media again anytime soon. Maybe not, but. I just want to remind you guys once again, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/GSMCsportsnetwork./tip. Again, it's a great way to make the show more interactive between me, the host, and you, the viewer. Once again, the following link, streamelements.com/GSMCsportsnetwork./tip. So, when we get back from our second break of the show, the Yankees will come up at some point during that segment, but we'll talk about the power rankings that were released this week, and we'll go over that, where all the teams are within that, and that will be the third part of the show. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast.